passion beats discipline every single time. I think about how I grew up. My dad, he is super disciplined. He has the willpower of like an elephant. I don't know, something that has amazing willpower. And I don't mean that in being like stubborn and this and that. He just is a man of like when it makes sense in his head, he's gonna go through everything to make it happen. And there are people that way. I know there are, but that is such a minority. These are our leaders. These are the people in the world that are bred to be leaders. Their emotions are kind of detached. It's all about their gut intuition, their feelings about something. Like they have this sense of justice, right? It's all different. It's not everyone's the same, obviously, but it's this. They function out of that gut. They function out of this is what's right and this is what's wrong, and that's all that matters. And I'm gonna go down this road. And this is what makes how my dad is. And my dad is so, again, with the willpower, of an elephant. Oh my gosh. But when I was growing up, I thought that's what I had to do. And that was discipline. And that was doing things, even if you didn't want to achieve the goal. That is not how I am. And I crumbled eventually. I crumbled in soccer specifically. I messed up my ankles a million times, herniated a disc. I messed up my knees. I had to get surgery for that. All before high school finished. And mostly, I would say that's because I didn't eat and I didn't sleep enough. I was eating enough for a normal being, but I was working out 3-4 times a day, 6 times a week, and I was not eating the calories to keep me nourished, especially not enough protein. I was not growing. Like I was growing in height maybe, but I was not growing in hypertrophy at all. My muscles were not growing. And so I was this super skinny soccer kid. I mean, they all are. And I wasn't sleeping enough. I was not sleeping enough. I would, go to sleep at 12, 1 o'clock, wake up at 6, 7 o'clock every day. And like teenagers need like 10 hours of sleep, especially if you're working out this much. You need to like sleep 12, 13 hours. I know parents, that sounds crazy, but rest for an athlete is the body's chance. Like you lay down, you're resting, sure. When you sleep, your body focuses 100% in trying to restore the body because you're sleeping. Like nothing else needs to work. And so it's just the alertness. It's just your body functioning better. It's good for your immune system. It's good for all these things. And I wasn't doing any of that. And so I hurt myself. But that's not the point, I guess. The point being that it all crumbled. And when it crumbled, I'm talking like relationship with the girl that I've been, and this sounds silly, but on and off for whatever, 10 years or something. By the time I was like 18, 19 already. So yeah, it wasn't 10 years. It was like 8 or 7 or something. But that like officially ended, and I herniated my disc. And so I couldn't even play soccer anymore. I couldn't do anything. And I was just mad at God. Everything was wrong and bad, and it just sucked. And I flew to the opposite spectrum where I just followed my impulses, my desires. I didn't care anymore about discipline at all. And I realized that's 10 times more destructive and more heartbreak and more pain and all of this stuff. And so I looked at both things and I was like, what do I do? And this is also the time where I left the church. That, I think for a lot of us, we leave God before we leave the church. And so I was fighting God for a long time, and then kind of just put that to the side. And I continued on, and I met some people. I'm telling my testimony again, but when I met some people, they just showed they were just passionate about God, and that's it. That like they didn't have to be in a church building for them to get together and praise God, or they didn't have to be told to go out and talk to people about Jesus. They just it, it it's in their like heart, it's in their mind, it's in their mouth. Like they just need to talk about Jesus. And I saw that and I was so amused. This is also so For any atheists and agnostics out there that want to, fight against Christianity, I promise you, any argument that you have has been dealt with for the last, I don't know, like 1900 years, right? Like you guys ask the most basic question, like, why is there evil if God is so good? Or that's like the main question, or like, you know, who decides, the morals, or I don't know, whatever your questions are, they're so like basic and they've been answered a billion times, a billion different ways. And so like you just do your research, your own research, and you'll, beat yourself. But what happened to me was because I'm being a PK and also just trying to prove everyone wrong. I read the New Testament like 20 times back and forth. I would make notes and make comments, and I would go down and just like really get into it. But it was motivated by a hate and motivated by trying to prove everyone wrong. Maybe hate is a strong word. It was by disappointment. It was motivated by disappointment and motivated by indignance, and it was motivated by actually looking back. If there's a kid that came up to me with that kind of energy, I would probably like thank God for it, because that, I think, if the church was willing to hear me out, not just hear me, like if the pastor took me in and tried to teach me like, hey, this is actually what it looks like, that could have kind of changed the church, to be honest, because I had a, 'cause it was just church. I didn't want to say it was like fire and brimstone or whatever, but it was just a lot of like to do and just this superficial relationship with God, which, look, I know that there's this whole craze about like, oh, it's a relationship with God. Da, da, da. I think you guys fallen off to the other spectrum where you have no reverence and no understanding of who God really is as a creator. And you just think he's some bestie that is okay with whatever you do with your life. But anyways, I had that kind of energy with reading the Bible. And so when I would get to these guys that were super passionate about God, I would question them. And a lot of them were stumped, and a lot of them, and what I just wanted was this. I was just angry at Christians, and I was angry at God, and I wanted to prove to everyone that they weren't real Christians and that they didn't have it all figured out and this and that. And because in my head, God, I guess, was just ultimate knowledge. It was the most correct thing. Like I knew that. I knew that God was right. All of this philosophy that goes outward from God is wrong, and there's a lot of holes in their logic and this and that. But the closer you get to God, the closer you get to truth. And I thought that I held that truth tighter than everyone else. And so I was trying to stump people to be like, ha, see, you don't know the truth. You aren't the truth. You don't speak the truth. You're not a Christian, this and this and that. And they're like, look, I don't have the answers, but I definitely love Jesus. And I was just like, oh, like, why can't I ruin your fun? I mean, that essentially, like looking back, that's basically what I did. And so why can't I ruin your fun? Ugh. And so then they started pouring out their passion into me, and I started getting passionate. And it was a transition of like, it touched my heart first, and then my mind, and then my body. It was a long process of it started to make sense in my heart. My heart was being healed. And as my heart was being healed, as my soul was being healed, I could start rationalizing my my relationship with God better and better. I could start rationalizing why sin is bad better and better. And then when I could rationalize it with my head, then behavior started to change. So it was a long process of 6 years or whatever. But so, and that's my point. Passion now. I don't do anything because I have to, right? It's not out of discipline. I do things because I'm passionate about it. Let's even use this podcast as an example. When I start getting worried about any kind of analytics, any numbers, oh, I have to reach people. Oh, I have to make more videos. Oh, this bogs me down and it stresses me out. And so I have to come back to this idea of like, what am I actually doing here? Am I just making videos? Am I just trying to get people to like me? No, those aren't the things that drive me. What drives you? expressing the things that you love. I like talking. I like talking about things that I love. That's why podcasting seems to be the perfect avenue for now, is because I feel like I offer insight. I offer different perspectives. I look at things differently, and I like talking about it, and I like to see people's like light bulb moments happen. And so that's my passion. If I stick to that, then I can make 3, 4 videos a week. I can make, TikToks for days. I can do all these things because the metrics are secondary to my passion. And so there's no amount of discipline that's going to get me out of bed, no amount of willpower that'll get me out of bed to do something. Why it made me start think about this, I don't even know why it came up, but I was just thinking about someone who like I'm going to use soccer again. There are people who just love soccer to the point where they're just always playing it. They're obsessed. They want to play soccer anywhere they can, even if it's like, I remember like we would all have soccer balls in our trunks. And wherever we are, we're in a parking lot, like we have nothing to do. Oh, let's go juggle. Let's play monkey in the middle, whatever. And that's what we would do for the fun of it. Right. But then I see people that are driven by success and ambition, and they just work. And it's all that it is. It's all it is. It's just work. I think that passion beats that kind of work every time. That the person that's passionate, and so maybe it's not discipline. It is just work. I just know that there's so many people that do things because they have to, and not because they want to. And that's really what the point I'm trying to get to is when you do something because you want to, you get so much farther in life than when you have to do something because you have to, right? A huge thing for men is married men or whatever is staying monogamous, let's say. You can look at it from, I'm doing this because I have to, right? Why do I have to? I have to respect her. I have to respect this marriage. I have to do this so that we don't get divorced, so I don't lose half of what I own. I have to. Or you can just focus on loving your wife more and more to the point that you want to. There's still a tension when some girl's flirting or this and that. Maybe you have ideations, whatever the case is, but you can stop yourself. The discipline is sourced from a place of desire, not a place of will, not a place of, I have to. It's, I want to please her. I want to be more intimate. I want to stay close to her. I don't want to, out of my love, to hurt her. And so passion really does drive, and we can, even the things that we do, we can reorient how we think about it so that it's about passion. There's less weight to something when it's about the passion, when it's about the love. It gives you space to rest. And now I'm talking about work and, again, podcasting or, whatever the case is. I'm not stuck to a regimen in terms of this is how much output I need to give weekly or whatever. And I don't limit myself that way because I think there's a healthy bar, right? So let's say, oh, I need to at least a video a week. That's like a bar, but that's a low bar. If I tried to match the bar to the passion that I have, that's going to be intensely stressful. And so, yeah, maybe there could be some kind of a minimal quota you hit. And then if you're just not feeling it that week, like I know I have so many podcasts in my back pocket that I don't have to do anything for months if I don't want to. And why I say that is because I'm giving myself that grace, that wiggle room. If I'm too busy with doing something that's taking up all my time, it's good to have that. It's good to have that time spaced out, space allotted, and this and that. I can't function by my will. My will is too small. And why I bring this up, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I think the majority of us live this way. The majority of us live by our passions. Oh my goodness. I unlocked a if oh my goodness. What tends to happen to me a lot is I think so much and I have so many ideas that I forget these ideas because I've moved on to other things. And I just realized, I just remembered the theory I have of the two desires, except actually after reading more and more, I think Martin Luther has already talked about this, but it's about having the lesser desires and the greater desires. I called it something else when I was thinking through it. It's like or it's like the carnal desires and virtue, basically. It's it's this idea that we hang on to these low-hanging fruit of carnal desires and carnal pleasures because because we're hedonistic. So because we're hedonistic, we're always gonna follow desires and run away from the things that fear, that stress us, and this and that. That's just how we're wired. And what we do, because we don't know any better, is we have the shortcuts of our carnal desires, right? That this is video games, this is food, this is sex, this is all of these things, just your basic stuff. And then there is the virtues. Then there is the passions of justice. There's the passions of love, the passions of just virtues, the good things in life, the intangible things of life. And when we start reprioritizing and those things become more important, the virtues become more important, we kind of get, we have to make space for the virtue. And so we start getting rid of the carnal stuff. This is, yeah, I mean, John Piper talks about Christian hedonism, and what that is basically people talk about having to do what's pure and what's right and what's holy and this, and that. And it's just a different approach, which I think fits to the category of most people, most human beings. And that's don't don't try to do all of these things white fisted, white knuckling, just trying to like really, just force yourself through it. Do it as the increase of your passion for God grows, so does the increase of your passion for virtue. And so, like, when I look at my life, I do what I do, the purity that I have, I don't know, the structure that I have, how well I function in terms of serving, all of these things, it's all a function of my love for Christ. And it's all a function of because of the love I have for Christ, it's the fruit of the Spirit, and I love the fruit of the Spirit. I want more of the fruit of the Spirit. And so this starts to dominate my world. And for that to grow and grow and grow, I have to let go of more and more and more. And this is how I am, right? I think where the discipline and all of that comes is creating the perimeters to where you don't fall back to things. It's creating the structure so that you continue on, right? And I think that's, but again, that becomes a function of protecting what you love, right? This is a jealousy. I have a jealousy of my relationship with God. I have a jealousy of my relationship with myself, like with myself, really. If I love myself, I'm going to continue to pursue God because God satisfies me in every category of my being, right? In my identity, in my psyche, in my physical health, in my goals and my aspirations and what I'm meant for and all these things. And so I'm then passionate of the project that I am for Christ, of Christ, and I'm passionate for Christ. And so I'm push forward in the, and as I like, if I dig deeper into this, no, delve deeper. What? I think that's past tense. English always fails me. Sorry, guys. But if I start diving deeper into all of this, I might sound like, guru, self help, and yada, yada, like prosperity, like neo prosperity. But it's not like it might, like there's a lot here, like a lot of nuggets that anyone can take from and use for their new age, BS or whatever. But I think at some point it's going to collapse if you don't have Jesus, if you don't have God. And listen, I don't really remember everything that I've said so far. I don't know if I missed anything that I had in my thoughts, but yeah, amen. Yeah, but main point is try to either either you find your passions that you can overwork yourself with joy, I don't mean overwork yourself, like where you don't get sleep and this and that. I just mean like that it consumes your time, the time available to be productive, your productive time. Okay. So overwork yourself, finding a passion that you devote all of your productive time to, or reorient the things that you do already do and think about how this serves your passion, right? Your passion for people, your passion for your family, your passion for God, whatever the case is, reorient how you look at that. It's all a matter of perspective. It really is. And I know that sounds cheesy or new agey or whatever the case is, but I honestly, I think that's 90% of like the purpose of prayer, I think, is to adjust your perspective on what's going on in your life, because God's going to show you or tell you or whatever however, he's going to orient you to say, hey, what you're going through, it's a season of test, it's a season of trials, or I'm trying to refine you in this season, I'm trying to grow you, like whatever. But you see how that's like a change of perspective. And so all I'm asking is for you, well, then, pray about it. Pray, like, God, how is my circumstance right now? How is it? Like, where's the love? Where's the passion in what I'm doing? And if there isn't at all, find something else to do. For the love of God, you have, if you believe you have free will and you're stuck in a cycle that you don't like, do something about it. And if you don't, I mean, I hope God puts the inspiration in you to move on. I don't know. Yeah, it's getting technical. Y'all have a great day.